another legal puzzle for people of Rivers State as the Court of Appeal today in Abuja affirmed the judgment of the Federal High Court which set aside the 800 billion naira budget passed by the 5 members of the Rivers State House of Assembly, which was led by the then Edison led leadership of the House. And the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar slammed President Bola Tinubu of being unaware of the hardship in the land as fuel price now goes up. In fact, it's giving him a nickname which is now a trend on social media. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimbaloye in Abuja. Let's begin tonight by letting you know what the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar is saying about the hardship in the land. Today, he slammed President Bola Tinubu for being undisturbed by the hardship his policies, including the removal of petrol subsidies inflicted upon Nigerians. In social media post on the platform X, Atiku, the 2023 presidential candidate of the PDP, labeled Bola Tinubu as T-Pain for drowning the well-being of Nigerians. He says, quote, the haphazard and disingenuous approach of the current administration to fuel subsidy management as being the reason why we are in this current economic crisis in the country. He went further to say, as things stand, there will be no let-up in the escalating inflation rate, which is drowning the material well-being of Nigerians. It is even more worrying that the T-Pain is undisturbed by the hardship in the country. Tonight, our attention is still on Rivers State. This time around, maybe not the political feud between former Governor Wike and Governor Fubara, maybe not about the local government election, but it's about something that will totally impact on the governance in the state. And so you do know that there's those whom they call the Edison led House of Assembly in Rivers State and the Martin Zamawule led leadership of the House of One is said to be Fubara, pro-Fubara members and the pro-Wike members. In all these political drama playing out as being a budget presented before the 5 members who are pro-Fubara, but the court in the Federal High Court has set aside whatever activities they've done, and now the Appeal Court has also affirmed the position of the Federal High Court, the Justice Omotosho Court on that matter. So tonight, we'll be getting you legal perspective, political perspective, and what this means for the people of Rivers State. Stick around with me, everyone. But first, before I get you to be with my guests and discussing all of this, let's check out some of your political roundup stories.
The Senate has asked the federal government to deny allocation to councils where selections were done. This resolution was adopted after the Senator Minority Leader, Senator Abba Moro, raised concerns over what he describes as sham local government elections conducted on Saturday, 5th October 2024, describing it as an abuse of the Constitution. The Minority Leader alleges that in most places, elections took place in the private homes of the chieftains of the ruling party, making the entire process a mere coronation of candidates of their ruling party and not a proper election contemplated under the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended. And in the Green Chamber, following the consideration of the report of the Committee on Public Accounts on a motion on the alleged mismanagement of COVID-19 intervention funds disbursed to some ministries, departments and agencies covering the period 2020 to 2022, the House of Representatives representative is asking the EFCC and ICPC to provide comprehensive information on funds recovered from MDAs on COVID-19 intervention funds. The House is also asking the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation to provide evidence of remittance, mop-up unspent funds on COVID-19 intervention funds from MDAs. Meanwhile, the Board of Trustees of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, is asking the National Working Committee of the party to urgently convene a National Executive Committee meeting to address the crisis within the party. The chairman of the party Board of Trustees, Senator Adolfo Fubara, made this recommendation at a meeting of the BOT in Abuja. Mr. Fubara also urges all that are invited by the party's disciplinary committee to freely present themselves to the committee, stressing the supremacy of the party over any member. Meanwhile, as reconciliation efforts within the PDP continues across the country, the Oyo State Governor, Seyi Makinde, has urged the national leadership of the party to adopt a comprehensive approach in implementing the recommendations of the party's reconciliation committee. Speaking at the PDP National Reconciliation Committee's press briefing held at the Agodi Government House in Ibadan over the completion of its assignment in Southwest, Oyo State Deputy Governor Barrister Bayo Lawal, who represented Governor Makinde, emphasized the importance of unity and collective efforts within the party to achieve the primary aim of the committee. Lastly, the post-local government areas election violence, which led to the burning of 3 council offices in Rivers State, continues to draw condemnation. The latest criticism comes from the Rivers Elders and Leadership Forum, a group comprising elder statesmen and women who have held high-ranking government positions in the past. Addressing journalists after an emergency meeting, the forum expressed gratitude to the people of Rivers State for their peaceful conduct during the October 5th local government elections, despite security challenges and threats of violence.
All right, and you've been served with your political roundup stories, but in relation to the price of fuel, the Trade Union Congress, TUC, has demanded the return of petrol prices to what they were as of June 2023. The TUC President Festus Osifo at a press conference today in Abuja is asking the government to specifically intervene in the sector by giving foreign exchange to Dangote Refinery at $1 to 1,000 naira, not at the current over $1 to 1,600 exchange rate to crash petrol prices. Take a listen to the TUC president.
Demand is that government should create a special FS scheme for that purpose. There is no government in the world that doesn't intervene in its critical sector. And the critical sector in this case is the energy sector. We shouldn't leave it to the vagrancies, to the seesaw of our naira. So when that special intervention is done, the PMS price will even go below. It is going to go below where it was moved from. It was moved from about 800 naira plus. But when that intervention is done, it's going to go sub 700 naira. So, gentlemen of the press, that is our demand to government. 3 things. 1, affordability. So we must be able to buy this product. We want the price of the product to go even sub below where it was before.
All right, then. Let's move away from petrol price issues to what happened today at the appeal court in Abuja. And the ripple is already reaching several kilometers away in Rivers State. Now, the Court of Appeal in Abuja today affirmed the judgment of the Federal High Court, which set aside the 800 billion naira budget passed by 5 members of the Rivers State House of Assembly, which was led by Edison Hehie-led leadership of the House. The appellate court today dismissed the appeal filed by the governor of Rivers State, Fubara, on grounds that it lacked merit. The court held that Governor Fubara withdrew his counter affidavit at the lower court in the matter, and as such cannot commence an appeal in a matter it did not challenge at the trial stage. In a unanimous judgment, the Court of Appeal says that Governor Fubara is expected to apply the rule of law and not the rule of might. The court further says that the situation in Rivers State House of Assembly is an executive dictatorship by the governor and a joke taken too far. Let me allow you to listen to Martins Amehule, who the court affirmed today as the Speaker of the House.
everybody heard, and very clearly too, when the justices made it clear that I remain the Speaker of the Rivers State House of Assembly. They emphasized the fact that I was elected on the 5th day of June 2023, and that there has not been any reason to say that I lost my seat because I was never impeached and I was never removed. That emphasis was made by the Court of Appeal today. The Court of Appeal went further to make it clear that there is nothing like any other House of Assembly apart from the House of Assembly under my speakership. That was made clear again today, just like we've always had in previous judgments. Again today, the Court of Appeal made it clear that the governor of Rivers State does not have a budget upon which is governing the states, because the Court of Appeal upheld the judgment delivered by Justice Omotosho, wherein he declared that there is no budget for Rivers State for the fiscal year 2024.
All right, you heard Honorable Martins Amaewule. Now, in all this, the people of Rivers State is at the center. Governor Fubara has been asked by the court to take certain decision and certain action, which the court avoided because of the position of things. So, you know, before now, there has been factions of leadership in the Rivers State House of Assembly. But tonight, there are those who have experienced similar things in the past, not only by the virtue of their election, but also by the virtue of their profession. And also there are those who have interest in what goes on in Rivers State. They may be looking from the sideline, but of course, they are big political players. Tonight, I have two of such of a kind on the program tonight. I have a lawyer and a former member of the House of Representatives, in fact, a former minority leader in the House of Representatives, Dr. Samson Osage. He joins us virtually from Benin City. Thank you so much for joining us, Honorable Osage. And also, joining us from Lagos State is the APC governorship candidate in the Rivers governorship election of 2023, Mr. Tony Cole, is live for us tonight. Thank you so much, Mr. Cole, for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Shemo.
Now, I think before I come to you and get your insight into all of what is happening, let's get some legal perspective to this. And let's let the professional speak about it, not only because he has a parliamentary experience and knowledge about this kind of crisis. We've seen this happen several times in the past in several states of the Federation. And of course, some legal perspectives will also give us some benefit. Let me speak for a moment with Honorable Samson Osage. Thank you so much indeed for joining us tonight. Give us an understanding,
Please go ahead.
a very direct layman interpretation of what the Court of Appeal said today. What did the court say or mean by that position or decision today?
Thank you very much for having me on this program and to speak on the legal issues surrounding the Court of Appeal judgment today with respect to the position of the Rivers State House of Assembly, which invariably is the legislative arm of Rivers State government. And I just say that I haven't gone through the excerpts of that judgment. I think it's one judgment that we strengthen the institution of the legislature. Because in this country, the legislature has been trampled upon to weaken its ability to perform its constitutional duty. And speaking strictly on the law surrounding the issues about the governance in Rivers State, with particular reference to the crises that have enveloped the Rivers State House of Assembly and, of course, the budget of Rivers State. Section 96 of the 1999 Constitution is very clear on what should be a quorum of a state legislature. And the quorum of a state legislature, according to the provisions of the Constitution, is 1/3 of its members. In other words, the Rivers State House of Assembly, which I think has about 32 members, can only sit and validly make law When I say make law, I mean make all laws, including the passing of an appropriation law. Before it can sit and transact legislative business, it should have at least 1/3 of the elected members of that house sitting and present and doing business on that day. And interestingly, Rivers State is not the only place where we have had legislators not having quorum and yet transact business. In fact, what we are seeing in Rivers State is a child's play. In Edo State between 2019 and 2023, the legislative arm of Edo State government transacted legislative business for almost the whole term without a quorum of the House. Now, coming to Rivers State and coming to the judgment of the Court of Appeal, it is only in conformity with the provision of the law that the Court of Appeal has given judgment. It is impossible for 5 or 3 people in a 32-man assembly to transact legislative business, let alone pass an appropriation act for the entire state. In fact, this River State can lead to more amendment to the Constitution. It is going to have consequential implication for the amendment to Section 96 of the Constitution. Because by Constitution amendment alteration, 5th alteration of 2019, that section has been amended to include having at least a 1/3 present on the day of inauguration. And I think constitutional reforms must also include now that for the purpose of the passage budget, any budget passed by membership of the House that is less than 1/3 is unconstitutional. And I think what the Court of Appeal has done is to provide a platform for that constitutional amendment. So, in other words, the court has stated what the law is. It has merely repeated what the Constitution has said and given flesh to its provision and give it teeth for it.
So,
it is impossible for a house that is not constitutional.
So let me jump in quickly. Let me jump in quickly. The position of the law is very simple and clear as to what forms a quorum in the House and what constitutes the legal status of a member of the House of Assembly. Now, the question is the import of the Abegunde versus Ondo State House of Assembly and that Supreme Court position on the defection of the lawmaker is one of the major issues surrounding the defection of the members of the House of Assembly in Rivers State when they moved from the PDP to the APC. And whether or not, in the moment when they moved or defected, whether they still have or they still are members of the House of Assembly, because there are questions as to can you transfer your vote, the seat, whether or not it belongs to your party. And as the Supreme Court has established in the Abegunde versus Ondo State House of Assembly, that was the point where those who believe that as at the point where they defected, they have automatically lost their seat and their status in member and being members of the House of Assembly. And as such, Edison here and 4 others remain the statutory or the only members of the Rivers State House of Assembly. Does the law see it in that perspective, Honorable?
Yes, I think Abegunde Ifedayo Abegunde versus Ondo State House of Assembly remains one of the locus classicus for the law on defection or cross-carpeting in recent times and within the Nigerian political system. But the Rivers case example presents a critical angle to this whole conundrum of cross-carpeting. Let's assuming but not assuming that the 27 members of the Rivers State House of Assembly actually affected and are supposed to have lost their seats. The question is that can the remaining 4 or 5, as the case may be, constitute the Rivers State House of Assembly? The answer is no. So this matter is not dependent on whether the 27 members have lost their seat. By the provision of Section 96, subsection 2, it is said that if there is no quorum, then the Speaker shall adjourn the House. What ought to have happened in the case of Rivers State is 27 members haven't defected and they are considered to have lost their seat. Of course, the court has not said so. What ought to have been done in proper situation is to call for a re-election to fill those vacant posts before Rivers State can continue to enjoy the services of the legislature. So it is not for the 24 or 5 to carry on with the business of the legislature. So if they have lost their seat, as people have opined, the appeal against that defection was not upheld by the Court of Appeal, depending on what was put before it. But assuming that they have lost their seat in accordance with the provision of Section 68G, then the implication will not be that the remaining 4 now constitute Rivers State House of Assembly. They cannot validly transact legislative business because of the number they have. So that is not a solution to the conundrum that will be created by their defection.
Now, the other side of it now is what options are available to Governor Fubara? Does he have the opportunity to appeal the appeal court's judgment today?
Well, Oliver Wendell Holmes is one of American realists, said that the law is what the court says it is and nothing more pretentious. Now, the court has stated the position clearly and has said that the budget of 2024 in Rivers State is invalid and unconstitutional. The option left for the governor today is to represent the budget of that state before the legally recognized assembly as it is today. That is the law. I'm not talking about the politics. He has option of appealing the judgment, but it has to obey the order of court. What if the Supreme Court now affirmed this decision? Will he run to heaven? So I think the proper thing for him to do is obey the court, and then you can pursue your appeal. Otherwise, he is running the risk of running a state and expending public expenditures without legislative approval, beyond, for instance, the constitutionally accepted limit of 6 months when the budget would not have been passed.
But Honorable, the question here is that there are other, when you want to appeal this kind of matter, you can ask the court for a relief, or of course, for you to be able to seek redress in court upon a judgment in which you does not favor you. So it could also have ask for a stay, isn't it, and go for an appeal pending the determination at the Supreme Court. That option is available to him, isn't it? Because what if, like you said,
yeah, he has the option to ask for
the Supreme Court now rules in his favor, what happens?
He has the option of asking for a stay of execution. But what is there to stay? Because these are declaratory judgments. Now, if he asks for a stay and it is not granted, where does that leave him? So sometimes I do not think that he has anything to lose if he represents the budget and even the Supreme Court rules in his favor. It means that he has a validly approved document of the budget of the people of Rivers State. So he has nothing to lose if he represents the budget and follow the law. But he has a lot to lose if he continues to implement a budget that is not validly passed by the state legislature. It becomes a constitutional issue, and it can lead to other unpleasant consequences, given the trajectory of the political situation in Rivers State as we speak today.
But Honorable, you've played politics. You are also a lawyer. So you know that there is a delicate balance in this matter of law and politics. And you know that this was largely a political matter before it went as a dispute before the court. Now, you know just how dangerous or how difficult what you've said is for a sitting governor who feels that, politically speaking, his position is being threatened by his opposition in the state. How does he handle politically what you've been saying so it doesn't look like a weak governor, politically speaking?
Well, you talk about striking a delicate balance between law and politics. Politics rests on law, because politics must be played within the confines of law. If you play politics outside of law, then you are engaging in authoritarianism, in tyranny, and of course arbitrariness. So The law must be the basis upon which politics is played, and I think that is not debatable. So for Governor Fubara, he needs to swallow his pride so as not to be looked at as a good governor and obey the law, because obeying the law is in his best interest, in his self-enlightened interest in the long run. Because he is in a conundrum right now. He can't continue to govern a state, without legally approved budgets. Because the law does not favor the way the state is being administered without a legally approved budget. So let him go, swallow his pride, negotiate with the legislators, and then let them resume legislative duties. And then he has all it takes. He's the governor of the state to call his people and say, look, this quarrel is not has nothing to do with Rivers people. We are elected to govern Rivers people. Let bygone be bygone. Let's start on a new slate. And they continue. They are legislators. They are citizens of Rivers State. So the only way for his survival is for him to obey the law and then begin to get along with the legislator, regardless of the waters that have gone under the bridge. Because if he doesn't do that, then these validly recognized legislators under the law will go ahead and impeach him for running a state without a validly approved and enacted budget of the state. And then the law will not be in his favor in that instance.
So, but also, what's the implication of all of the activities of the 5 members of the House of Assembly, everything they have done in the eye of the law? They also voided?
The court made it clear. Yes, the court made it clear. And of course, the Constitution has said so. If you do not form a quorum of a legislative business, you cannot transact any business. Any business they have transacted in the name of Rivers State House of Assembly is null and void and unconstitutional and have no legal effect whatsoever. That is the position of the law, and it's clear.
Honorable, before I allow you to go, this is a very, very tricky one. Yes, rarely do we see governors being impeached, but how do you then run a state when you know that you are in a very difficult political, treading around a political landmine, and you are running a state with majority opposition lawmakers? How do you cope? How do you want to run a state in that manner? Well, I mean, politically speaking, it looks like a suicide, isn't it?
As we speak today, this is political now. Rivers State has an array of statesmen who have been governors, deputy governors, ministers, ambassadors. I do not think the elders of Rivers State should sit back and allow this drift to continue. And I believe that as governor, he has a responsibility to mobilize the leaders and elders of Rivers State to be able to get his government underway and run smoothly. And I also believe that his opponents, or those with whom he is having his loggerheads, are also from Rivers State who have respect for the elders of Rivers State. I remember my friend Tony advocated and named some persons who could solve the problem of Rivers State. So I believe that those routes are still very much available. The road to peace can be very thorny, but it is better achieved by passing it than pretending and being on a high horse, because of ego. So I believe that there are people in Rivers State capable of solving Rivers' problem. And this has nothing to do with Mr. President now, because as a Democrat, there's a limit to which he can even interfere, except to the extent that life and property should be secured in state. So we know that the crisis is precipitated by political differences, between him and his predecessor.
All right.
But the Rivers elders can settle this matter by bringing them to the negotiating table, including these members of the State Assembly, so that we can have a smooth say governance in Rivers State. After all, power is transient. They will all leave their seats one way or the other, and at some point. So why should they continue to overheat the local polity in Rivers State?
Honorable Dr. Samson Osagie, thank you so much for talking to us tonight. A very senior lawyer and the former minority leader of the House of Representatives, a mixture of experience.
Minority whip,
minority whips,
not
apologies.
minority leader.
Minority whip, apologies. A mixture of experience, parliamentary experience, and legal knowledge. Thank you so much for giving us a mixture of all
Thank you, Sean, for having me.
Thank you so much indeed. So there is a big one here, everyone, because at what point can you say you are validly defected from a political party? Is that by your mere verbal declaration, or how? How do you determine crisis? The law and precedents in law has also established that what makes a political crisis in a political party, not just one mushroom places or in the world or whatever, at the national level. How can they justify that? The Abegunde, Ifeanyi Abegunde versus Ondo State House of Assembly is a precedent in law on that matter of cross-carpeting and defection. We see how that pans out. But for today, the appeal court judgment stand. Let me bring in Mr. Tonyeko, who, is also in the mix of all of these things. Mr. Tonyeko, thank you so much indeed for joining us tonight. Now, I know you've been hearing and listening to what Dr. Samson Asage has said, but those who defected, they defected to your party. So invariably, your party is receiving the benefit of the judgment of today, because those members, the Martins Amewule, are members of the APC because they said they defected to the APC. Let me get your reaction to the appeal court judgment of today.
Well, first of all, Sean, thank you very much for having me. And then secondly, I see that Samson is still on fire, and he has given a good basis for today's discussion. Now, Rivers State is in a very precarious situation right now. The judgment of the appeal court has taken everything almost back to status quo. And now we have an issue where you have an assembly, a House of Assembly, that is contrary to the governor. You ask a question as to whether this is attainable. The governor finds himself in a very precarious political situation. Of course, by presenting the budget back to that assembly, what he's then saying is that that assembly is recognized as the legal assembly. And once that happens, he has to now navigate an impeachment or a possible impeachment issue. Things no balance, my brother. So what is happening right now is a very delicate situation. And unless there is a conversation around peace, it can't end well.
No, but okay, so my first question to you, that's your assessment. First question is in the ilk of what do you see as what is as panned out to be in the favor of your party? Because the Martins Amewule say they are members of the APC, your political party. From that point of view, how do you see it?
And that's a fact. So you can't take away the fact. They left PDP, they moved to our party, APC. They had been welcomed by APC. So that's a fact. There's nothing that can be done about that. What you see about political brinkmanship is that you want to move people from one party into your party. That's always the case. Who can you go over? Who can you bring in? Who can you carry over? So that has been done. What you now find is that we have a state where the governor is PDP. The House of Assembly, based on the court case, is APC. And remember that you have a local government, a whole local government structure that is APP. So you have three different parties running the state. Totally untenable.
Well, there are those who will say, yes, the local government chairmen are largely APP, but they are APP in bracket Fubara. And the APC majority House of Assembly in bracket pro-Wike. It's a very delicate mix that your party find yourself. So the question is, where is Tonya Cole? Where is Rotimi Amechi? Where is Tony Okocha? But at the end of the day, in all of these political brickmanship, brigandage that we saw in the post LG election and all of these charade, because as far as I'm concerned, I see everything as all joke to the extent that it's impacting on the lives and the livelihood of the Rivers people. All of this politicking means
Absolutely.
nothing, because if it doesn't benefit the people of the state, it means nothing. From your own point of view,
Absolutely.
how do you balance all of these jokes and make the people's lives be better? Because the people of Rivers State's lives are in the mix of this.
So, Sheon, unfortunately, and I use this word very carefully, unfortunately, the people of Rivers State, as it stands right now, do not matter in the equation that is being played out. Because if the interests of Rivers people were on the table, we will not even be where we are today. This entire fight is political, and it has to do with a very small political family. They're not interested in what the issue is in the people of Rivers State. Because as we speak today, there's no development. As we speak today, the political battle is affecting the poor man on the street. There's no progress. So what we need to do is that we have to sit down thinking about the people of Rivers State and come to an agreement that, you know what, all of this must end. And I like what Samson said. It cannot be ended without the clear intervention of elders, political actors, stakeholders coming together to say that enough is enough. Rivers elders have been speaking, but they're speaking on the outside. The governor, in his position now, must reach out and call everybody onto the table, because that's what he can do on that end. He must call and say that, you know what, how can we find a solution on this? There's no player here that is not important. Whether you look at it from the SIM factor, you look at it from the Wike factor, you look at it from the Amechi factor, look at it from the Odili factor, but even if you look at it from the president's factor, there's nobody who is small in this. If you do not call everybody to the table and say, let us find a solution, it's not good.
Mr. Cole, apologies. Where I come from, they say when you want to settle a dispute, you call in the middle or at the center someone whom the two parties respect. In this sense, who does Wike respect? Who does Sim Fubara respect? Such that that kind of person can sit in the person in the middle.
There's only one person today that can play that role first and foremost. And that person has to be very interested in the peace and prosperity of Rivers State. And that is the president. Wike works for the president, and so he must listen to the president.
But the president has intervened once, Mr. Cole. The president has intervened once, and that intervention seemed to have amounted to little. And now they're back, in fact, hotter and more intense in this dispute more than before the president intervened. And the response that we got from the president is that let the court settle all this matter. But can this court settle this matter before things really get out of hand?
I doubt it. Now, what we're going to see is that we're going to see that the courts are going to come into this battle. But the courts are not geared towards bringing political solutions to issues like this. You can be sure that the local government elections that just happened is now going to be dragged in court. What you've already discussed with Samson, so there is a court dynamic, judicial dynamics that is going to be happening. Let us leave the judiciary out of this, because they are not going to be able to bring a political solution to this. The outcome of what happens on the judiciary may not bring the solution that we see. I've lost it.
All right, just for a moment, let's go on a break. When we come back, We continue our conversation with Mr. Tonyako, who is the governorship candidate of APC in Rivers State in 2023 election. We'll be right back, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone. Mr. Tonyako, who's the governorship candidate of the APC in the 2023 governorship election in the state. Thanks so much indeed for your time tonight. There are those who say one too many is this political feud in the state. And for those who follow Rivers politics will know that even in the days of Rotimi Amechi, he spent huge amount of years fighting political wars and came in some weekend now, Sim Fubara. What exactly is wrong? Because I know they see a whole lot of these gentlemen, as soon as they get into power, a lot of things then begin to happen. There are those who say that Tonyako is also a gentleman, but they say when you get to the government house in Rivers State, there are those wars that you cannot run away from fighting.
The spirit of fight will enter.
But you feel like you are in an advantage, isn't it? Because your opponent defeated you in this election, and now is facing all of this trouble.
You know, at the end of the day, I've always said this, Sean, that we have to break this circle, okay? And it's a circle that you're seeing. And unless and until you have a legitimate break from that circle, you will see it continuing. And I've always believed that my candidature was to break that circle and just have something different on the table that can move forward. But more importantly, there was a question that you asked before the break, and I would like to just go briefly back to that to touch on it. And we're talking about who would they respect to bring it forward. I'd mentioned the president, and you rightly said that the president had intervened before, but in his intervention, everything seemed to have just gotten worse. And I would say this very carefully, Sharon. When you make an intervention in the first instance, you expect that people will go and move, but you don't walk away from it. You have to take a look at it and see that how can you move forward? And this would be my advice as far as Rivers State is concerned. There are certain people that Mr. President has to empower to go and speak on his behalf. Call the warring factors together because they have an interest, a larger interest in the state. And just off the top of my head, I can name 3 or 4 people that he can empower to go and see if he can mediate. I would call, first of all, an old politician who has been governor of the state that I know holds a lot of respect, like Ada George coming in on the one side. I would call somebody who is considered to be a very strong spiritual leader in the state, Pastor David Ibiorime, that I know that they both respect, and put him there. I will call an elder statesman who has very little to do with politics, but is straight and forthright and will say exactly what he would say. Someone like Atedo Peterside. And probably, because of our interest one way or another within the whole Rivers State dynamics and all the things that may have happened, positive or negative, I would also call Her Excellency Patience Goodluck. Give these 4 people the mandate to sit these 2 warring factions down and have them, and maybe one more person. I don't know where he would fit in this because I know that right now he's on same side, but you may want to call His Excellency Peter Odili into that mix. But whatever the case, bring this who do not have a direct interest, so to speak, personal interest of gaining anything out of the mix, and have them speak to these 2 warring factors because of the future of the state. And I think the president needs to do something to that level. He may feel that if he comes in himself to try and bring them, they may not respond accordingly. And I doubt it that they would not. But bring people who have a particular interest in the larger purpose of the state and have them try and mediate. It's what I would do.
So you look at it, there are those who faulted the intervention of President Bola Tinubu, and they said that it doesn't have any place in the politics of Rivers State and should not intervene. There are those who faulted him, and there are some of them are elders and stakeholders in Rivers State. Do you think that the president will want to meddle again in what is going on in Rivers State when he did that at first, and in the long run,
Yes.
the effort didn't yield result. But then there are those who came after him and said that he doesn't have any business and he should not put his mouth into the matter.
Joe, I don't think the problem was the president's intervention in the first instance. I think what was the problem was what was presented as a solution. And that's really what was. When you are intervening in an instance like this, it's important that the outcome of it must be somewhat balanced. And I think there were people who did not feel that it was a balanced intervention. And they felt that one party was rerouted into accepting a position in the interest of peace. And that does not work. When you have the kind of situation that we have, there must be a balance. One party takes all, winner takes all situation in this instance, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah,
so
because that's one of the issues that I saw here. Because now you can count two instances that the president has directly intervened in what is going on between Nyesom Wike and Fubara. Now, the first being that the meeting, which some people thought that it was a physical meeting between both men and the president, and there were instructions and there were orders and there were terms for this matter to be resolved. The other one was after the local government election, where there was a statement from the office of the president, and there are those who say, in the first instance, it does look like giving orders to the governor to go and do this and go and do this and go and do that, which a lot of people felt that was too much in the favor of Nyesom Wike. Now, the statement released by the presidency also looked like it was so much in the favor of Nyesom Wike. In fact, there are those who believe that, why did you mention the governor's name in the matter, and why didn't you mention Nyesom Wike's name in the matter? And, in fact, the governor said, why are you mentioning my name in all of this matter? So these are the issues. The president has been seen 2 occasions he intervened, 2 occasions he has been seen to be biased, perceived to be biased by those who are criticizing the intervention.
So an intervention cannot work if it is seen to be biased. And that's the point that I'm trying to make. As the father of the nation, at this point in time, we have to find an intervention that seeks a middle ground. At the end of the day, what are we talking about? We're talking about power, and we're talking about governance, and we're talking about a political system that has a terminal date. I recall, if history serves me right, that there was some upheaval in Lagos State with Ambode at some point, and it caused a kind of political discomfort here. What happened? At the end of the day, said, okay, you know what? Let this run through its course, and then we will deal with the issue when it comes to the elections. Lagos survived. People continued doing what they were doing. Life went on. People were still buying and selling, trading, doing business and all of that, even though there was some political discomfort. We cannot have in Rivers State a situation where the titanic battle for control of the state puts the entire state at a standstill. And that's the issue. So if interventions are seen to only favor one person, then the other party will not trust that intervention and will continue to fight for life, for survival, to the detriment of everybody. And I think, as a father, I believe personally that as the president of the entire nation, of which is the president of APC, president of PDP, president of non-party persons, president of those who believe or do not believe, it is the duty at this point to stand in the neutral position and bring peace to Rivers State.
Now, you've mentioned former Governor Ada George, Pastor David Ibiyome, Miss Patience Jonathan, wife of the former president. You mentioned a 4th name that
Atado Peterside.
Yes, Mr. Atado Peterside. These 4, from your own point of view, should be co-opted as a special intervention emergency committee and team to go and douse the tension and quench the fire in Rivers State. If this doesn't work, for those who believe that there is fire on the mountain and rivers could burn, do you have that fear too?
So, Sheon, if this does not work, then it's fight to the finish. You know, at the end of the day, there are two outcomes here. The first outcome I've just described. Can we create a scenario? It might be an uneasy peace, so to speak, where it might just be a peace that just allows things to move. That's one scenario, and it's possible if we want peace for rivers for the next 2.5 years or thereabouts. That's that. So you can do that. The second option is what we are seeing, and let's assume that this option continues. What you are going to see is that first there's going to be a titanic legal battle and all of that. Now, people do not trust the judiciary, whether it's going to move left or right, nobody can tell you. But the judiciary is not geared for political fights. But as we all know, politicians try as much as possible to influence the judiciary. So you're going to have the governor doing his own, you're going to have the minister trying his own, and all of them will be ganging to see who can get the upper hand on the judiciary. So you're going to see a titanic judicial battle across board.
All right.
First in the legislative end, then you will see it at the local government end. Then you will see an impeachment battle that is going to happen, which means that there will be no peace in Rivers State for at least 1.5 years.
Wow. We thought where there is a lot of water, there should be some peace and calm, but it's been a rivers of turbulence and crisis over the years. Pastor Tony Cole, you better get back on your knees fast. Take your Bible and pray for your state. And I wish the Rivers people the very best. Thank you so much, Mr. Tony Cole, governorship candidate.
Thank you very much,
in the 2023 governorship election. I appreciate your time tonight. And I do hope if the president does not call these 4 people that Tony Cole has called on tonight, maybe they should get together in the interest of the people. The former governor, the judge, Pastor David Ibiyome, Patience Jonathan, and Atado Peter Sai. Well, your state needs you now. There is fire on the mountain. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I'm Sean Kimale. God bless Nigeria.